reader for the first set is Toni Partington. She lives and works as a poet, editor, visual artist, and writing coach in Vancouver, Washington. She is the author of 2 books of poetry, Jesus is a Gas and Wind Wing. Her poetry has been published in numerous journals, including the Cascade Journal, Voice Catcher, and Perceptions. She was co-editor for Voice Catcher Anthology of Pacific Northwest Women Writers. She is the co-founder and editor of Printed Matter Vancouver, and an editing and a small press imprint. Please welcome Toni Partington.
Thank you. Let's see. Well, hello there. The lighting's going to be okay. Yeah, that's going to be good. How's that? All right. Hey, y'all.
Hi.
Hey. Hi. Nice to be here. Thank you so much, Amy. Thank you, Curtis. Thanks, everybody. It's really great to see such a great turnout tonight. I'm just going to read a variety of things. I tried to pull from several different themes, so we'll see how it goes. I wanted to start it out with a very short one called Perception. My boyfriend is a poet. And at this stage in life, I suspect I'm too old for boyfriends and just old enough for poets. Is anybody in the room like red wine? I'm afraid that I love red wine, and I probably love it more than I should. So here's my ode after Neruda to red wine. Radiate in the place between garnets and rubies, named claret, not so plainly red. Emboldened sweet juice, convert in wooden casks, named, prized, poured. You have floated me rivers, soaked and stained. I salute you. Never before 3 p.m., just before dinner. You, the Italian lesson of my youth, held high during speeches, cheers. You, swallowed, gulped, savored. You, an old friend. You, savior of the party, the blind date, the funeral. You, smooth, bitter, holy, secure without question of worthiness or cost. You, the communion of currants and oak, of vine and this woman. Salute. These are what's called my reunion poems. I'm just going to do 3 of them for you. The reunion is when you go back to your hometown for a family reunion because there's something like a 50-year anniversary, some kind of baptism of the baby, some kind of wedding that you thought would never happen that does. So you go for a reunion. And you also at the same time, because you want to maximize your expenses, you think you'll do a poetry tour on the way. So, reunion poems. Ask Mama. Let's dance until our feet die. Sing when Ethel belts a tune. Drink cosmopolitans and leave our makeup on all night. Tomorrow we'll believe there's plenty of time for normal. Let others worry tonight, pretending takes a toll, and nobody in this room is getting younger. Reunion 8. This place, so changed, left home before I grew permanent teeth, sought freedom and a new climate. Today, I return, unencumbered. Quotes from my uncensored life will appear on the billboard across the street from the Dairy Queen. Reunion 9, Pathetic Poets, a West Coast tour on the cheap. Imagine DNA on every surface, hope, meditation, garlic fries, and Ganesh will stave off bed bugs. Claim they won't stay here again when they're famous. It's interesting sometimes when you're in the middle of something, you're reading something that's really profound to you, and something happens sort of in that outside world, which is everywhere beyond where you're sitting at the moment. But it hits you like a ton of bricks. It just comes up and it hits you, and it alters sort of that thing that you were doing first, and it integrates itself with that outside thing. And this is called I'm Making Time for Whitman. Making time for Whitman, making a space, hollowing out a perfectly shaped lemon. Seeds fall around my bare feet. I sip black tea, push hard against the news of Yoshani Vaughn, her body left on Rocky Butte, in the rain, in the cold, in the leaves and grass. I'm making time for Whitman to earn some karmic merit, because he knew all there was to know. I await his wisdom to answer cloudy questions, like why 16-year-old Parrish Bennett Jr. took her life, hid her from family, 4 agonizing months. I'm making time for Whitman, the father I'd hoped for, crossing Brooklyn Ferry on his way to work, back in time for supper, sauntering the pavement to my front door, carries the news in his rumpled suit, leans over the table to ponder potatoes. 2 fingers in his thick white beard begins the story with, "Have you heard?" I'm making time for Whitman to interpret his lists, camera and plate, connections of man, foot to the earth, same old laws. Shouldn't laws keep us from harming each other? I'm going to make time for Whitman as the spinning girl retreats and advances to the hum of the big wheel, as the lunatic is carried at last to the asylum. In Portland, a fist pounds a table inside her grandmother's house. Innocence drowned like a feral cat midsummer. We ask whether those who defile the living were as bad as they who defiled the dead. Today I make time for Yoshani Vaughn. She needs this more than Whitman. He puts things in their attitude. He puts today out of himself with plasticity and love. He is the answerer. The mourners seek a voice for Yoshani. She has left without final words for her mother, for her brother, for us. Whitman said justice is not settled by legislators and laws. It is in the soul. Mr. Whitman would be the first to ask, whose soul will carry this? This poem took a long time for me to sort of figure out. And for those of you in the room who have a son, for the women in the room who have a son, you will perhaps get what I was trying to convey in this poem. The title is, "It is not the apocalypse to bear a son. It is just a damn tall order for my son Damon. He is the son of a feminist. Poor bastard enjoys righteous indignation with his morning Cheerios, and she is convinced that his manhood is entrusted to her, as to ensure the preservation in a misogynistic road trip he calls my fate. She is the mother of a preppy. Poor woman earns a mystery tour with every morning coffee, and he is convinced that her braids and long skirts can be converted into a suburban normalcy so that he can fit in with his crowd. He is buttoned down. She is textured fabric. He is superheroes, and she is garden bliss. He is New Edition. She's Joni Mitchell. They clash over small insignificancies and rail together against authority. She will always defend his independence until it is directed at her. Don't let that teacher try to change him. Back off, you bureaucrats. This is his one chance, and she will get it right. She owns a repeating nightmare. It says, him, center stage, big belly in a brown recliner, ordering wenches to bring more beer right now, in a tone that keeps her at least 2 miles from her eardrums. His dreams occur in daylight. Her in the garage cursing the car again, and crying out that she is not a fucking mechanic, while the men in the neighborhood try to ration her rage. He knows she smokes weed, and is convinced it makes everyone stupid but her. She knows he sneaks cookies, hot off the counter, and she refrains from telling him the chocolate is really carob. She wants to paint his toenails pink, and he lets her, but wears socks for weeks until he can scrape it all off. He wants to iron her clothes before each parent-teacher conference, and she lets him once. She begs him to cry while telling sad stories about worldly human violations, and he accommodates with fake sobs. Until the real salt flows without control. She helps him style his hair, buying cans of Aquanet to create a shelf of blonde that stands 3 inches above the scalp. Remember, it was the 80s. He leaves for school, never knowing that she chisels the residual lacquer off the bathroom floor. He's a genius living above his potential in this tiny house where she cans apricot preserves for Christmas. She is so careful with certainties, but her influence is huge. There is weight and responsibility for this boy child she carried inside, yet above all, he is so worth it. She tells him about softness in the heart, tells him it's not hard to be kind first before anything else, tells him the world needs his goodness, tells him that gender is a keyhole through which you first see yourself. It is not a crutch or a weapon. She tells him that being right is overrated and can cause fistfights. Tells him to pay attention to detail. It will make him brilliant and sensitive. Remembers to tell him that this moment, this one, is the only one that counts. Mainly, she tells him he is free, set free from what she wants, and that she will weep when he becomes a man, any kind of man, because she did her best from his righteous birth cry until her last resistant breath. I have 2 love poems that are breakup poems. So I'm going to read them. They were love, and then it went south. Saying prayers when there's nothing left to say. Old cracked blinds cover windows of our yearning for before. Today we pull the cord open to let ourselves out. Move to each room, open the slats for sunshine and my snow-capped mountain. We have searched for our dog, dead over 2 winters now, yet her ghost roams these rooms. You are holding that fork like a weapon. Don't put it in the meat of my arm this time. You will make me crazy all over again. I want to scream obscenities when I'm within 5 feet of your snarl. Let's finally pack it up for good. Now that the dog's dead, we won't brawl over god-awful custody. You can have the books, except for the Kama Sutra. I may need that again one day. I'm closing the blinds on this. The clouds have covered the view of my mountain. The snow will melt before this is done. And if we quit this charade, the dog will finally lay in rest. This is called When. When this misfortune is lumpy wax spilt on the nightstand, ancient mahogany marred as we argue. You say it's gnarled wood under ceiling tiles. I say it's false acoustics. Your mouth opens and no sound comes out. In the distance, the train whistle wails. Does this amuse anyone? You wonder how we will divide all those coins. I say, sort them by date. And then we agree that no one pays with pennies. Sometimes we go for fast food, watch drifters steal ketchup and napkins. We linger there, rehash last night, familiar disappointment in our words. This morning I saw you cut my head from all the photos. Amazed, I didn't feel a thing. Took off your robe, went back to bed, more worried about the car than your emotions. It can't be 6 months since our first silent night. Yesterday, I was at the Goodwill. Found the gilded frame I bought for you in Veracruz. It was perfect. No chips or cracks, unlike the crevice that grew large between us and eventually blew apart. Tonight, I will paint a picture for that frame. Strokes of russet paint will reveal a carved door, slightly ajar. Sometime in the wee hours, I will cross the threshold and not look back. What has become of silence? There are tunes everywhere, in grocery stores, waiting rooms, everywhere public. What has become of silence? Days when phones rang with real ringing, in homes, behind closed doors when privacy mattered. Today, no matter what is said, others eavesdrop like window peepers to feed upon tidbits, enticements, free secrets. We hear test results, gossip, dinner plans. Every humdrum detail is unveiled. Remember when calls in public were guarded in boxes of aluminum and glass? Coffins with folding doors, phone books tethered by steel cords, coin slots, graffiti, dead cigs on the floor. Always that echo, visible but silent, seen, not heard. A time when I love you traveled from my lips to your ears and no further. I'm going to wrap up with one more. This is called the Fujita scale. Fujita scale is like the scale that they have for earthquakes. Fujita scale has to do with tornadoes. And it was developed by Ted Fujita. He was famous for developing this intensity scale that could tell you from an F0 to an F5 what kind of damage might be rated as a tornado came through a particular city. The Fujita scale. She is a storm chaser who seeks the thrill inside electrical strikes and sheets of rain. Her life defined by movement toward the funnel cloud, fed by spirals of energy and dust and someone's roof. He spills into her life like rain through a cracked foundation at 200 miles per hour and F2 on the Fujita scale. His power bends her will. Chasing his wind becomes her folly as it roars above and below her soul. Their love, a vortex on an empty road, sanity spinning farther away. His nature, uncontrolled, like a fault line, a rock slide, a firestorm. His fist, unpredicted, at 400 miles per hour, an F4 on the Fujita scale. By then, doors slam, glass shatters, pieces of insulation blow away. Yesterday, she was a storm chaser, seeking the thrill inside electrical strikes and sheets of rain. Today, she watches the weather behind curtains sheer and muted blue, as he waits behind bars for the day she will drive him home in the rain. Thank you so much.